Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me first of all to express my sincerest gratitude to His Excellency the Secretary General of the League of Arab States for this renewed invitation to address your distinguished Council. The fact that you have such pressing items to address and such important ones, and yet offer UNRWA this space, makes the generous welcome all the more appreciated. Excellencies, time is like suspended in the lives of Palestine refugees and trust in the world on the brink of evaporation. In my trips over the past year to Palestine refugee communities in Aleppo, Homs, and Damascus, in Shatila, Burj Barajne, and Ain el-Helwe, in Zarqa and Amman, in Shofat, Jalazon, and East Jerusalem, and in Beit Hanun, Rafah, and Khan Yunis, I was again deeply moved by the encounters with different generations of refugees defined by their common experience and united in grief and in honor. I saw the destiny of the generation above 70 years of age, many of whom still have personal memories of the Nakba. It is the generation of Palestine refugees who believed that its plight would be over soon and remain short-lived. I see the destiny of the generation in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip, my own generation in fact, just above the age of 50, that has lived its entire life under occupation. It is the generation of Palestine refugees whose existence is defined in every aspect by deprivation, violence, dispossession, and a denial of rights. I meet frequently with the generation below the age of 25, born after Oslo, and who was told by the world, by the entire world, that if it embraced moderation, if it believed in politics and negotiation, justice would be served, but it was not. Excellencies, behind these painful and often traumatic tales, there is a community in search of reassurance and recognition. Reassurance that its future matters and its rights will be recognized and protected. It is a community in which I discover strength of a dimension and kind that I have rarely encountered in my life. In particular, among our 525,000 students, I see courage and determination that inspire me every single day. In November of last year, we created the first ever Central Student Parliament with elected boys and girls representing Palestine refugee students from Gaza, the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon. And at the kind invitation of His Excellency the Secretary General, two of these students, Bayan and Naif, spoke here at the League of Arab States on the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. Why do I describe all this? Because Palestine refugees are not statistics or an accident of history. They are individuals defined by a common humanity and deeply important aspirations. And UNRWA was mandated by the international community to provide assistance, preserve opportunities, strengthen the dignity of Palestine refugees. And we have done so since 1950, and we continue to do so with immense determination and energy. And I am deeply grateful to the League of Arab States for its constant political support to our mandate. It is a mandate firmly protected in the General Assembly of the United Nations, and it is a mandate that is not for sale. Among its many challenges, UNRWA requires significant financial support from states and beyond. And you are aware, and it was mentioned in the introduction, that this year we face an unprecedented financial crisis following the US's decision to dramatically reduce its contribution to UNRWA. Since this was announced, I have been traveling around the world to call for collective mobilization and action to help us overcome this crisis. We will work with all states in search of a solution. And I was in Japan recently, in Europe, and I am here now in Cairo. Excellencies, this is not an average shortfall. This is the most severe crisis we have ever faced in our history. And my specific ask to you, and I do so humbly and respectfully, is, as League of Arab States, you committed in the 1980s to covering 7.8% of our program budget. And I speak here not of the generous amounts that many of you have provided to the construction of schools and clinics or to the rebuilding of neighborhoods in Gaza. Those are project funds. I am here referring to the core mandate activities of UNRWA, running the schools, the education programs, the healthcare and others. That is what you had committed to support at a level of 7.8%. Several of you helped us to reach that target of 7.8% for the first time in 2015 and 16. But last year, Excellencies, your contributions dropped to 3.5% of our core funding. And with an increase of our budget since the 1980s when you made this commitment, and in view of the present crisis, I suggest humbly again and respectfully that you should actually be closer to 10% of our requirements. This will need a new commitment and greater predictability. This is the time also for new funding alliances and arrangements, such as the one contained in the Waqf of the Islamic Development Bank that is being discussed and that we have been developing and should be launched urgently. In light of our funding crisis, we have also launched a global campaign called Dignity is Priceless. It engages the private sector, foundations, and will do so also throughout the holy month of Ramadan. UNRWA has now been declared zakat eligible, and we seek your authorization to engage your related national institutions in this respect. What is at stake, Excellencies, is the dignity of Palestine refugees and regional stability. If 525,000 students no longer have access to education, if 3 million patients cannot access health care in UNRWA clinics, if 1.5 million people can no longer receive emergency assistance, we will undoubtedly witness and see a catastrophic rise in insecurity. UNRWA students not in school not only violates a fundamental right, but becomes a matter of national security for many countries. For the moment, our schools remain open, as do our clinics, because several donors, and I'm very grateful to them, have advanced their annual funding to the beginning of this year. This allows UNRWA to keep its activities running for the time being, but this will only last for a few weeks or a couple of months. As I said, we need a global mobilization, and we are working with the UN Secretary General, with dedicated support from host countries, with the leadership of the League of Arab States and of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Our students await our actions. They show resolve and courage every single day in accessing the education that they do. May we match, Excellencies, that in our own actions. Sincerely, I cannot see myself returning to them and saying that we have failed them. I thank you very much for the opportunity.